Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with more Snake Eye Yummy post-ban list, so there's only one Cupsy in this build. This build, by the way, is not my own. I actually got this from the Duelist Cup Top 100 decks. In 62nd place, I found a Snake Eye Yummy list that was also utilizing Fiendsmith. The combo line is going to be different from my build that I've shown off in the past, and I didn't find any combo guides or anything for it. I just kind of reverse engineered the line you're about to see here. We're going to begin with Diabellstar for OSS and going for Snake Eye Ash. That's going to add and then special summon the Poplar. Poplar doesn't have anything to add here because we're actually not on Divine Temple. Again, I got this list from 62nd place. I'm struggling to remember the person's name. It's in the title of the deck. We're going to see the list at the end of the video here, but we're going to go Ash for Oak. Now, Oak can revive Ash, and then I'm going to go Oak, send the Ash in order to go for Flamberge. Now we're actually going to pivot into our Fiendsmith line from here. We're going to turn Linkuriboh plus Flamberge Dragon into Moon of the Closed Seven. And then, of course, we're going to activate the effect of Flamberge in order to revive our Snake Eye monsters. We're going to use those a little bit later, though. We're going to next link off the Moon into the Fiendsmith's Requiem. And then now we can go Requiem to, of course, go into the Lacrima the Crimson Tears. From here, Lacrima is going to activate. We're going to get to dump and then revive the Engraver by putting back Moon. And then we're going to make Fiendsmith Sequence. Now here, this build actually plays both Desiree and Caesar, so you could make either. I actually like making the Desiree here because if you make Caesar, your Fiendsmith Sequence ends up stuck in your extra monster zone, and you can't use it to make IP, so I like getting it out of the EMZ. This build isn't on Sprite Elf or Baron de Fleur, by the way, which kind of surprised me, but we are able to put up multiple negates, as you're going to see here in a moment, even without them. Now, I should talk about what we did just there, because that's how we then pivot into Yummy, of course, right? After setting up all of your Fiendsmith stuff, you're still left with your two Snake Eye monsters from Flamberge. We contribute one of them to summon Linkuriboh, and then sync it with the remaining Snake Eye monster to then make Cupsy Yummy way. Now here, I'm going to add Cupsy Yummy and Marshmallow Yummy, because I already have Cookie and Lollipop in hand. We're going to dump the Marshmallow, summon Cupsy. Cupsy's going to add Yummy Surprise, and then we can link off the Cupsy Yummy into Yummy Snatchy. Another surprising thing about this build is the extract is only on one copy of Yummy Snatchy, which, to be fair, in my previous Snake Eye Yummy builds, I played plenty of turns where I only summoned the one Snatchy, but I still always played the second one as like sort of backup, right? So it was a little surprising to only see the one here. But anyway, we're going to go for Lollipop. We still have Cupsy Yummy way on the board, so we can take the two level 1 monsters we revive with Lollipop, go into Herald of the Arclight, and then we can Surprise, revive Marshmallow, Marshmallow, add back Surprise. And this is what your end board would look like as a one-card combo. You would set Surprise, and you would have all of this set up. Remember, we both added and then discarded Marshmallow off the Cupsy Yummy way. However, because I have an additional body, I'm able to also make IP Masquerena. I imagine if I did the sequencing a little bit differently, there's probably a way to make IP Masquerena on the one-card combo board as well. But like I said, I didn't watch a combo guide or anything for this build. I just kind of winged it and just went off like what I knew about the list and kind of intuition. So yeah, my opponent was on Fiendsmith Gem Knight tier limit, but they're just going to go ahead and concede after seeing my turn 1 end board. Probably the Herald is what did it there, but yeah, definitely different than how I was doing the combo line, but I do like the addition of Fiendsmith, and obviously this deck did get some pretty good results. Again, 62nd place in the Duelist Cup, making the top 100 in general is, I think, a very significant accomplishment. But let's go and take a look at some more back and forth gameplay with this list. For this game, we're going to be going first again, this time against Fiendsmith Live Twin. Of course, utilizing the new Leela deal, or Kisakeel deal and Leela Treat. Like I said, we're going to be taking the first turn again. However, our opponent is going to, as soon as we draw phase wanted, throw out a Maxx. One thing about this deck and this list especially is that it doesn't really play very well into Maxx. Fuwalos is another story. If you've got like Yummy stuff, you can do a decent amount of stuff while only giving them 1 or 2 draws. But here, I'm not going to actually give them any draws off the Maxx. I'm going to pass right up the bat. I have a Maxx of my own, hoping that's enough to stop their plays, and we see the secret password, and it makes me a little bit more optimistic, because I feel like Live Twin is a deck that's a more weak to like a single maxi than a lot of other decks might be. Now here they're going to go for Small World, and I was a little worried they were going to try to add Ash Blossom, so I'm going to chain Maxi. That's something that actually I remember from my Math Mech days. When I played Math Mech, I'd often use Small World for Ash Blossom. They're going to instead end up adding Droll, so that way they go Kissekeel for Leela, and then they Droll after my first Maxi draw. Very smart, because the Live Twin combo line can play entirely through Droll and Lockbird. However, I was fortunate enough that my one Maxi draw here ended up being the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is going to save me. Even though my opponent can't add any cards from deck to hand, they can of course still summon monsters from the deck. So as they're about to try to do that here with the Fiendsmith's Requiem, we're of course going to fire off our Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and stop them from getting a full combo. Now, of course, they still have the ability to pop off here as they have multiple Leelas on the board. They're going to link into Evil Twin Leela. But definitely glad that we stopped the Fiendsmith line there. That would have definitely OTK'd us, and even if not, it would have added a lot more disruption to the end board here. Now, I'm already looking at my opponent's, combo line here and recognizing they don't really have the ability to OTK. Like, even if they go into Trouble Sunny and then use the effect to tag out during battle phase, that only adds up to 5,500 damage. And with the amount of resources they have, that's the most amount of damage they can possibly afford to put out here. They're going to end up going Trouble Sunny during the main phase in order to revive the Evil Twins, Leela and Kissekeel, and then link them into a Bawaku. Now a Bawaku is going to activate. It's going to discard the Leela suite that got added earlier, and then revive the Trouble Sunny. But all that done during the main phase 1 just means that, that's 2,200 less points of damage that I took. So, feeling very confident going into my turn, even more so now that we have Fiendsmith's tracked. I can begin my combo line with Fiendsmith plays to bait out either the Trouble Sunny and or whatever the back row is. Of course, once they Trouble Sunny, they'll draw a card, and the Abawaku will also be live. There is also this spell card to consider here, the, Sunny Snitch? That damage could very easily end up adding over time, so I want to keep my eye on that. Now, thankfully, here my opponent's going to use Droplet to send away the Sunny Snitch, which makes sense, but I'm glad to not have to deal with it anymore, because I was a little concerned about the damage there. Gonna go for normal summon Snake Eye Ash as follow-up, and we still have both Bellstar and Lollipop Yummy as follow-up as well here. Okay, in response to Snake Eye Ash is when they're going to go Trouble Sunny effect in order to revive the Kissekeel and Leela Evil Twins. So we can summon Poplar. Poplar is going to activate to add OSS. Leela is going to pop the Poplar, and then Kissekeel gets to draw a card, which, as mentioned before, will make the Abawaku live again. Alright, so that's going to get destroyed. Here's the original Sinful Spoils. Now Poplar gets to activate, putting the Ash Blossom in the Spell Trap Zone. We're going to go for Snake Eye Ash effect for Oak, Oak for the Snake Eye Ash, and I don't really know why they let me do this, considering they're about to use a Bawaku here in a second against my Flamberge, but we could equip the Lacrima with the Requiem and send that with Oak. That way we don't lose out on any bodies on board. But yeah, they're going to pop Flamberge, and I'm like, okay. Revive Oak and Poplar. And now they are out of stuff to do. So I'm going to link one of my Snake Eye monsters into Link Krebo, and then sync it with another one of my Snake Eye monsters in order to start going into Yummy plays. Here is the Cupsy Yummy way. We're going to activate, adding the Cupsy Yummy as well as the Marshmallow. We're just going to discard the Marshmallow here, but we don't even really get the chance, so our opponent's going to concede first. So yeah, that was, like I said, a little bit more of a back and forth game. We were forced to basically pass turn 1 due to Maxi. Really unideal circumstance to be in. Left us not only susceptible to their turn 1 combo line, but an OTK as a result. Thankfully, we were able to find Ash Blossom, and that alone was able to stop our opponent from finishing us off, and we fired back with a very easy OTK line of our own. I say easy because we had so many extenders there through the minimal amount of disruption our opponent presented, but still have more gameplay to show you. Alright, wanted to get in a going second game. This one's going to be against Hero, featuring some of the new support. But I think, actually, if I remember right, this is going to be kind of a similar scenario to what happened to us last game, where we had to pass turn 1 without doing anything. Now here they're going to pass their turn without doing anything. And granted, I could have just like thrown out Perulia. I actually don't know why I didn't throw out Perulia draw phase here. That was definitely correct. But like if I had thrown out Perulia and Fuwalos, I think pretty much the same thing would have happened here. So, alright, we have Engraver plus the Cups of Yummy. Love seeing both of them. And I'll lead with the Engraver here in order to add the tracks. We're going to activate Fiendsmith's Tract in order to go for the Lurie. And then of course we're going to discard Lurie. As always, with just about any deck that's playing a Fiendsmith engine, if I open, like, Engraver plus my deck's main combo line, I'm always going to lead with the Engraver, because one, it baits out the hand traps from the opponent, and two, it sets up the Caesar, letting us get some Nibiru protection, you know, before they end up firing off the Nibiru. Now here I'm going to special summon the Cups of Yummy when I have the Requiem on board, so I don't have to use it my normal summon. And in response to Requiem, my opponent's going to actually throw out the Double Fuwalos here, so kind of seeing why they didn't really have plays turn 1. However, we have a Jewel and Lockbird in hand, which I'm actually going to utilize against my opponent's Double Fuwalos. Now you might be thinking, well, Lex doesn't really hurt us because now Cups of Yummy can't search up and we can't really do as much Yummy stuff. Well, here we already have access to a couple of different Yummy names as well as Surprise, so I'm actually pretty fine with how things have played out. This is also part of the reason why I special summoned to Cups of Yummy while the Fiendsmith's Requiem was still on the board early in the combo line. Because I knew if they were going to maxi me, I would want to use Jewel and Lockbird, and of course Double Fuwalos also constitutes that. So getting that search for the Surprise in early helped us set up the board state that we needed in order to OTK through a potential Jewel and Lockbird on our own end. Gonna make the Caesar here just in case they have a Nibiru in hand. They weren't getting past priority, so I figured it wasn't likely, but can never be too safe. Alright, we're gonna Snatchy for the Mignon. Now we can Mignon revive the Cups of Yummy, normal summon the Marshmallow, and we don't even really end up needing that Surprise here. We can just swing in for lethal after we normal summon the Marshmallow. Didn't even need to attack with the sequence there. Alright, so I think that's a pretty good example of what this iteration of the deck is capable of. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list itself, so we can talk about that in some more depth. Like I said, this is going to be from the Duelist Cup Top 100, so not a list of my own origin. As a result, I'm going to have some more extra thoughts here. Okay, so here is the Snake Eye Yummy list from Bamdmo. Hopefully I didn't butcher, the name too badly there, but this was the person who, again, got 62nd place. I believe they played this in addition to Radiant Typhoon and one other deck that I'm blanking on at the moment, but this list is card for card the same as was used in the Duelist Cup. However, I have adjusted to be post-ban list. The only changes I made were to take out 2 copies of Cups of Yummy. Right, the deck was at 44 cards with 3 Cups of Yummy. Now I'm just down to 42, only playing the 1. So like I said, this is quite a bit different from the Snake Eye Yummy list that I have used in the Deckmaster Cups and the Hololive tournaments, like the one where I got top 8, right? So main difference here is the Fiendsmith engine, which I actually love the addition of, and would not be opposed to tinkering around with this in a build closer to my own here. The Fiendsmith line is really easy to go into, obviously because Moon of the Closed Heaven is still legal, but it's also worth noting that Fiendsmith plays can actually still set up your Yummy stuff, right? Because the idea is that you can go into Lacrima, revive Lurie, and then link into a Requiem that you put back with Engraver, or in order to fusion summon Lacrima, and then you have the Requiem plus the Lurie, which can synchro into the Cups of Yummy way to get your Yummy plays going. So the Fiendsmith is not just good at extra push and negate and hand trap bait, it is actually a way to pivot into your other combo lines, which is really nice. Some other pretty key differences for the deck build here include a second Poplar in the main deck, the Acro Quee is also here. There are also additional copies of Cookie and Lollipo Yummy, and again, this was before the ban list changes were obviously announced or came into effect during the Duelist Cup itself. They were on the full Yummy engine, as opposed to some of the builds I've played where I was only on 1 Cookie and Lollipo. Extra deck is a decent bit different too. As mentioned during the first game, I think I said this, this build is not on Baron de Fleur or Sprite Elf. which the Baron in particular, I really did miss it when I was playing my games. Now, granted, that might just be because of how I'm used to comboing with my deck, but I also saw a lot of scenarios where I felt like I could add the Baron to my end board, and it would have been not that much of a struggle, right? Especially in a lot of hands where you open like multiple starters or multiple engine pieces. Like if you open like, you know, Cupsy, Engraver, Diabell Star, you know, not just Cupsy, any Yummy Monster, and a Fiendsmith card, and a Snake Eye card, you're gonna have the ability to, I think, make a board that could produce a Baron very easily. And there's some stuff in here I don't think is like super duper needed. Like in my own testing during the deck, and playing, not just testing, during the Deckmaster Cup tournaments, I found that WP Fancy Ball was actually really optional. I only summoned her like the one time, and well, it was quite handy. I don't know. Definitely has not like overall been a game changer for me. I don't know. I don't think you super need both Desiree and Caesar. But actually, I do like the option to go into Desiree, as mentioned before, to get the sequence out of the EMZ. I also don't want to sit here and criticize this list too much, because obviously 62nd place in the Duelist Cup is a huge accomplishment, not trying to take away from that at all. And this person has assuredly played more games with their build than I have in mine in a competitive environment. You know, tournament gameplay versus Duelist Cup gameplay in that regard is quite different. So, and the Duelist Cup gameplay is very, very skill testing. So, huge shout outs, and very eager to keep tinkering with a lot of ideas that I got from this list in combination with some of my own ideas about Snake Eye Yummy, and seeing what we can produce from there. But yeah, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. As always, I want to thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end. Let's go ahead and move on now to our outro, where we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.